On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. We have some horrible news. Very, very, very sad news. A lot of people passed away in this particular plane crash. And guess what? It's not the only plane crash we had in the last 24 hours. Things are getting weird. Things are definitely getting weird. Be prepared. We're going to talk a lot about stuff. We've got a couple really funny videos, by the way. One at the end. And then we've got a good one here at the beginning. Kind of an old flashback to Donald Trump back in the late 80s. He was on Letterman. And I don't know, surprisingly good. I think a good place to start, and we're going to kick it here. Again, we've got a lot of news to cover, a decent amount of news anyways, and we'll get moving on it. But right here is Donald Trump. Being Donald Trump, even way back when. He hasn't changed all that much, it seems.
How come this seat is at such a low level? You know, I'm looking at him. He's got this stage rigged, folks.
No. But
that seat is a good six inches higher than my seat.
And so am I.
Huh? I
see. What were you like as a kid? What kind of childhood did you have?
Well, I had a good childhood, wonderful parents, really good parents, and it was a good, solid childhood, I'd say. Very normal in a lot of respects, but a very, very solid childhood.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of family, you know.
Are you a driven person? Did you jump out of bed in the morning and just...
I don't think of myself as driven. I'm fortunate. I don't need lots of sleep like some people, and some people don't. I don't need that. I would say that I'm somebody that enjoys what I do, and I enjoy it so much that perhaps I do it well. But I really enjoy what I do. I don't like to think of myself as driven. I don't like to think of myself really as ambitious. I just enjoy what I do.
What would it take, what kind of a hit would it take to get your attention where you would maybe need a drink? Where somebody came in and said, Don, we got some bad news. Woo! That's 7-Eleven in Akron. Well, what?
Hopefully, David, I wouldn't be in a position where I'd have to take that kind of...
I know that. I know. We're just pretending.
I just want to tell you that.
You act like you're running for something.
No.
What's the deal with you and Ed Koch? Is this an old irritation between the two of you, or is this something new?
No, it's really not. Ed Koch is a man who I've liked at some points in terms of... I have no objection to Ed except for one thing. He's not a very capable or competent mayor. He's done a He's done a bad, as most of you New Yorkers would probably know, he's done a pretty bad job running New York, and that hurts me and it hurts everybody. And when I see somebody that's not competent and he's running something, and something that I have really a big stake in, it bothers me, and I do something about it.
Are you speaking from a position of somebody who has a lot of really, really special interest in the city?
No, it's not I do have a special interest. I have a special interest in New York. New York City is a hot city. It's a great city. It's the greatest city in the world, according to many, and according you're here, and we're also here.
Right.
And I hate to see some of the things happening with New York that have happened under the Koch administration. So I hit him pretty hard in the book. But I hit him fairly in the book. I hit him very fairly.
Yeah.
Probably very hard in the book, but very fairly.
Is it kind of a pointless defense to say that this city is so big that it is actually unmanageable to a certain extent, and he's doing the best he can, sort of just tending it day to day?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I hope that's never a defense of anybody. I did the Woolman skating rink in 4 months for $2 million or $2.5 million. They started 7 years before that and were unable to build it. I think they spent something like $15 million.
This is a huge ice skating facility in Central Park, which the city was...
7 years. 7 years.
7 years, they could not get it open.
They could not build it,
yeah.
And we did it in 4 months. So, you know, you say, hey, it's big and everything else, and give them a little bit more time, but the fact is, that's a disgrace. The zoos are a disgrace. The subways, the schools. It's really, David, it's really management. It's management, it's competence, it's capability, it's just basic ability, and Ed Koch doesn't have it.
Yeah, but you're speaking again from the over-the-fence in private enterprise. He's trying to run a municipal administration.
It can be done.
You think it could be done?
Absolutely. By the right person, it could be done.
Yeah. Any thoughts? I mean, would you want to be mayor of this city?
No, I wouldn't want to be mayor. It'd run very well if I was mayor, but I would not want to be the mayor of New York.
And what about are people trying to draft you to run for president up in New Hampshire?
Well, I guess a lot of people want to see this country, it's a shame what's happening. Japan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, everybody's taking advantage of the United States. People know that if certain people are running a country, that it won't happen. I mean, when you look at Japan, not paying for the defense. We're defending Japan. We're losing billions and billions of dollars. We're fighting for AIDS help and for farmers and for this and that. And it's a shame. And the Japanese folks, who I respect greatly, but they're not treating us fairly. They're really not treating us fairly. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, they're not paying us anything for the services we're rendering, and I think it's a disgrace. And I think people look at certain people, and maybe me, if I were in a position, this country, believe me, would not be ripped off like it is, and it is just being ripped off so badly by our so-called allies.
Yeah. So that's a pretty strong statement. So now, are you saying?
I don't think it's strong. I think it's fair. And by the way, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese. I do a lot of business with the Japanese, and they smile about it too. They know it. The country is losing billions and billions of dollars to Japan, and we can't afford to lose, and it's a shame. It's
but
a
so
shame
now, are you saying this by way of indicating that you could do it better, and you do intend to run for president at some point?
No, I'm not going to run for president, but I think somebody...
Now, in 8 years, if you came back, would you have a different answer? In 4 years,
I tend to doubt it. I really tend to doubt it. But I just think that there's so many ways that this country can straighten itself out, and we're not going about those ways. Cutting farm aid is not the appropriate thing. Cutting help for the homeless and help for the poor and welfare... Certain things can be done that really will mean big dollars to this country, and those things are not being done right now.
Let me ask you one other question, because I know you have other appointments and stuff to get to. If you go to dinner and the bill is like, say, $25, how much of a tip would you throw down?
Well, you know, the way I feel about tips, if somebody does a super job, I give more than anyone. And if somebody does a lousy job, I probably give less than anybody. And that's the way I feel about life. Life should be, you should be rewarded for competence and capability and doing a job and having a smile on your face, maybe, if that's the case. And I'm a pretty good tipper when somebody's good, and I'm a pretty lousy tipper if somebody's not good. So that's the way it is.
But, you know, sitting here listening to this stuff, it seems to me you are dying to get to some public platform to superimpose those feelings upon the American awareness.
Well, maybe so, but I'm not. I would like to have the feelings known and let somebody else do it, and it can be done. If the ball's carried correctly, it can be done.
Yeah, but if you want something done right,
do it yourself.
Doesn't sound like he's changed all that much, does it? No, pretty brilliant. Cat Turd shared this, which is funny as hell, and it just reminded me of just, well, a lot of comical things. But it brings back the great thought. And one of the most amazing monuments, of course, in the state of Florida, for those of you that live there, you're well aware of this, but it's the mountain in Florida. We call it Mount Britton Hill. All right, so it's Britton Hill. It's a hill. It's a hill. It's the highest point in Florida. It's 345 feet above sea level. I just want everybody to know, from where my house is to where the coffee shop is that I go to on weekends, it's a little further than the one I go to on regular days, but not much. About 3 more miles down the road. My elevation change is 500 to 600 feet. Going from my house to a coffee shop. Almost twice the elevation of Mount Florida. Crazy. Such a low-level place. And again, if there is actually going to be a water level rise, Florida's would disappear for sure. All right, some horrible news. And I'm not trying to make light. We're going to start with one accident. This is the Halifax airport. It was temporarily closed Saturday night after a plane arriving from St. John's experienced problems landing, which saw the plane skid down the runway and part of it catch fire. Here's that video playing out. Is my tray supposed to be in the upright position or down at this? I don't know. Just wondering, asking for a friend. Wings on fire. Not sure. I feel like that's a bigger problem than my tray table or whether or not my phone is in airplane mode. Whatever the case is. Horrible. These people survived. Nobody died. Pretty severe, though. Propeller plane. Now, unfortunately, they did not fare as well. Oh, Amsterdam-bound passenger jet skids off the runway after an emergency landing in Norway. This is number 2. We're not done yet. A KLM Royal Dutch Airlines flight, which had departed from Oslo Airport, was en route to Amsterdam, experienced a hydraulic failure shortly after takeoff. Obviously, it was en route to Amsterdam. Maybe they didn't have enough marijuana in their system or whatever. Who knows? Amsterdam was famous for that back in the day. But yes, another plane veers off the runway at Oslo. And fortunately, I don't think anyone died or got injured here. It was a Boeing 737. So, of course, more bad news for Boeing. And, well, it gets even worse. This is horrible. This is very horrible.
들어온 제보에 따르면 비행기는 착륙 중에 랜딩 기어가 내려오지 않았고 착륙한 뒤 활주로를 이탈해 공항 담장 끝까지가 폭발했다고 합니다. 다시 한번 전해드리겠습니다. 오늘 오전 9시.
It is understood that nobody survived this crash. This was in South Korea. This saddened me so much. 175 souls left this planet in one moment. 175 souls left this. Can you imagine the sheer, and I hate making people imagine horrible stuff, but can you imagine the sheer fear of skidding down a runway, seeing things sparking outside the wing, wondering whether or not your tray table should be up or down, only to slam into a wall and just wall of fire. It probably slow motion for anybody that was on it. Hopefully God removed them from the flight before. Don't know. So sad. So sad. And the question that everybody's asking or should be asking, what the F? Why so many plane crashes in such a short period of time? Why? And oddly, a bunch of Boeing craft, it seems. Well, one of them's a propeller plane, 2 Boeing crashes. Not sure. Is it Boeing's fault? I think, again, there's safety standards, there's maintenance, there's things that go into this. It's not just the way the plane's built, but we do know Boeing has cut many a corner. This is a sad, sad, sad day. 179 dead after a plane crashes, explodes. You saw the video. Horrific. 175 passengers and 6 flight attendants. 2 crew members survived. 2 crew members survived. Holy crap. Are you shitting me? Damn. And again, this is what a crash looks like. Every time they tell you there's a crash and you don't see bits of plane everywhere, wasn't a crash. This is horrific. This literally caused me to tear up. I was so sad when I was just like, oh my God, so many people. That's so sad. We also had an aircraft belonging to Jazeera Aviation Club. It crashed into the sea off the coast of Ras Al Khaimah. It's UAE area. Resulted in the death of the pilot and his co-pilot. Just another smaller plane, but still nonetheless. Multiple plane crashes in a 24-hour period. That's extraordinary. That's strange. That doesn't happen. A plane that crashes every once in a while is rare. 4 crashes in one short period of time, not to mention the Azerbaijani plane that got shot down by Russia Christmas Day, I believe it was. What the shit? Something's up, man. Something's majorly up. I don't know if there were specific people on these planes. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, 95% of all plane crashes are because they're trying to eliminate people. That's entirely possible. I don't know if the statistic that I just said is the one that's been pushed around, but it's a huge amount of people that believe, and maybe rightly so, that plane crashes are not accidental. Trump supports immigration visas backed by Musk. So he comes out and says this. Now, what's funny is, and it bums me out a little bit, Badlands Media has been posting that they, and I'm not saying they're wrong or anything like that, but they posted a video of Trump talking about how H-1B visas are bad and that he does take advantage of them because of his industries that he worked in. But this video of Trump saying this was a number of years back. This isn't something he said recently. It's something he said a few years back, a number of years back. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't go digging on the date. He definitely looks younger. And this is somehow supposed to be evidence that Trump isn't supposed to support the H-1B visas. Now, I disagree entirely, and I'm going to continue to disagree. I completely support what Trump and Musk, Vivek, and a lot of these people are doing, and I'm not going to second guess them at this point. Not at this point. I know a lot of people want us to, but see, that's the thing. We just got over this hump and finally got this dude almost in office. And now they've already got us attacking each other. Jordan Sather, I think, posted something that was, here it is, cool. It says, I think one thing that we can take away from the last few days is that it's quite difficult for many people to disagree while remaining respectful. How many people turned into bloodthirsty jackasses over the difference of viewpoint? The lesson here is that it's possible to have a differing opinion and not see the other person as evil. And this is something we all need to learn. Now, again, I had a guy that kind of reached out to me, and he was just like, he was following for this, you know? He was essentially watching Badlands. It's kind of how I went digging into it, and I was like, yeah, crap, damn, John, I can't believe you're doing this. But it is what it is, right? I don't know why this is happening the way it is, but it is. Now, again, I've had John on my show. I've been on another show with John before. I have huge respect for John. Not everybody on his platform by any means. There's some I very strongly disagree with. But my good friend Alpha is over there. He's working hard. So, I don't know. I know there's a lot going on. There's a lot of viewpoints. John doesn't control everybody, but he does control himself. And we're in a place where we can disagree. We can definitely disagree. Now, I think in throwing the baby out with the bathwater is probably a bad idea at this point in time. And Trump has come out and said, look, here's the deal. Right now, I'm supporting the H-1B visas. We have a immediate problem that needs to be filled and the immediate problem that needs to be fixed. So we don't have to fill this with H-1B visas. We can actually get back to great Americans graduating school and working for our country and making America even greater. But this has definitely caused a lot of people to be dicks. And that's not okay, folks. It's not. If you're being dicks to other people because you disagree with them, you're a dick. That's what it is, okay? You're not furthering anything. You're being a dick. And it's better to disagree with someone respectfully, offer your reasons for it, and let it go. But the second it gets emotional, you lost. You lost. Button pushing is one of the funnest things I love to do. I enjoy it. When I'm pissed off at someone, oh man, if you watch from afar, you'll be like, holy shit, Dan, I didn't realize you were such a dick. Oh, I can be. I don't choose to use that power often. It's dangerous. It's mean. But sometimes it's necessary. But be respectful. Let people have different opinions. It's okay. They don't have to agree with you. I don't want a world where everyone agrees with me. That would be boring. It'd be like talking to myself all the time, which I do enough on my own. I'd like to have people go, I don't know, Dan. And it's like, okay, what are you thinking? Talk to me. And sometimes, a lot of times even, that actually will merge or help or whatever. Be that. Expand or help expand other people. Don't just come at them with the dick move or the vagina move, depending on where you're at in the scheme of things. You know, sometimes you can be a vagina. It's okay. Either way. But Trump defends H-1B visas aligning with Musk amid Republican divide. Now, again, kind of not surprised on this particular channel. This guy's reached out to me a bunch. I used to post stuff here, and he was long story there. But he does good work. I'm not going to disagree with what he's got going on. He does a pretty good job bringing a lot of news sources together. But Trump is defending this. And now, again, he's got this with Republican divide. Yeah, there is. Shouldn't be, but there is. It's an interesting time, that's for sure. Real as F Patriot posted this. It is like the Twilight Zone here on X with the amount of patriots who have gone into full agree with me or else mode. That is a communist tactic, is it not? There are two sides to this disagreement over H-1B visas, and both sides have some very good points. However, if we remove emotion from the equation, the answer probably lies somewhere in the middle. That's always excellent advice. Two sides to the story, neither side's going to tell the whole picture. The middle is where the truth is at. The timing of this forced discussion could not be any more perfect, considering that the new Trump administration is going to carry out the largest mass deportation in history. Most people on the left still have no understanding of immigration laws and why they are imperative for our own survival. Elon has intentionally ruffled feathers with some of his comments, knowing full well that many people would let their emotions take over, making this discussion go viral so the fake news would be forced to cover it. Brilliant in that regard. That is exactly what has happened. Now everyone is talking about legal immigration, educating people, while also destroying the fake narrative that Trump is against immigration. It's a powerful move. We are still going to win this in the big picture. Here's Senator Eric Schmidt talking about President Trump and how he's going to come in and kind of rattle some feathers.
So President Trump's going to come in, he's going to enforce those laws, bring back Remain in Mexico, which creates a disincentive for the cartels to traffic people because they're waiting, the waiting room is in Mexico, not here in the United States where they're just released into the interior, never to be seen again, and given a court date 10 years from now. That's what's happening right now, Shannon. That's the system that's totally broken. So President Trump is actually just going to enforce existing laws and deport people who are here illegally. And so I think that's coming on day one. I think you're going to see a flurry of executive orders to that point. And the American people want that. You see that among Hispanic voters. You see that among black voters. You see that among white voters. Every socioeconomic group supported that. The exit polling supports that. That's why President Trump won. He was very clear about this. And I think it's a big, important part about his mandate that he received.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of trolls right now are trying to push narratives. And many of us that are easily rattled emotionally are falling for it. And I probably should have said rustle some feathers rather than rattle some feathers, but either way, I've got one other clarification I got to make here in a second too, because I made a comment in yesterday's show that I thought was pretty sound and then ended up watching some Joe Rogan videos yesterday and come to find out, not true. But CPTC for America First posted this. This is how we need to look at the H-1B discussion. Richard Grinnell nailed it. Richard Grinnell's post. The entire argument about needing foreigners for jobs in America is an indictment of our public school system. Fix the schools, teach what is needed, teach real-world life skills. The education experts and their lobby have failed us for too long. And so many would say, well, we just got to fix that. Yes, but then it takes a generation, essentially, to school people properly and get them back into the loving America concept. So we've got a bit of a temporary problem that needs to be resolved. Now, the thing I got to clarify is yesterday I made a comment about animals and how dolphins don't mess with each other or anything like that. It's actually not true. There was just a quick story. It was weird. I never heard it before. But I guess male dolphins, when they mate with a female, if they mate with a female or if they want to mate with a female that's already got I forget what a baby dolphin's called, but they raise those for a number of years, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. If a male comes in and that's not their child, they kill the baby dolphin so they can mate with the female. Good on you for that. That's awesome, but generally doesn't work real well. So what actually happens with a lot of the females is they've actually turned into hoes, if you will, and they have sex with multiple males. That way, when they have a child, the males knew they banged her, so they're not going to kill the child because they assume it's theirs. They don't help raise it, typical, but they actually don't kill it. So this is a weird survival mechanism that dolphins have done. So I was speaking like they were, they don't kill each other. They do. So again, we're a lot of assholes on this planet. We need to stop being assholes. That would be the appropriate response. This was a pretty good little moment Tucker had with this gentleman. I forget exactly what it was, but it's fitting, so let's play it anyways.
You are being extradited from Spain, an ally in Western Europe, a NATO country, to the United States by the U.S. Justice Department to face life in prison, 109 years, for tax evasion. You're not a U.S. citizen. The period that you're being charged with evading American taxes, you are not a U.S. citizen. My first thought is, maybe it's not really about the taxes. Maybe there's something more to this story.
More than a decade after I had already renounced my U.S. citizenship, and just a couple of weeks after I published a book on the hijacking of Bitcoin, how it no longer works as peer-to-peer cash for the world, it's suddenly right after my book gets published that exposes how people claiming to work for intelligence agencies hijacked Bitcoin to do that. Suddenly I get arrested and tossed in jail in Spain and trying to be extradited to face more than 100 years in prison. So effectively to die in prison is what they want. As the founder of Bitcoin.com, co-founder of XRP and Blockchain.com and a bunch of other companies, I literally seeded the entire first generation of cryptocurrency companies. And so they're furious at me for trying to have something that can compete with the US dollar as the world's medium of exchange and currency.
Yeah, they don't like that at all, do they? Not even a teeny bit. So that's an excellent point that Tucker's making. Warren Buffett suddenly buys $563 million of stock in 3 companies after hoarding cash all year. He was holding all this money because I think he was expecting a crash to occur before the end of the year, like many of us. And he's taken some of the billions that he had kind of been hanging on to and spent a chunk of it buying 3 stocks that he's already got large amounts of, but Occidental Petroleum, Sirius XM, and VeriSign. Really good companies, actually, to get into. Sirius, I've got my feelings about, but whatever the case is, all said, Warren Buffett's putting his money where his mouth is. Doug Casey on 2024 defining events and what comes next. There was a couple really key parts in this article that I thought were really fun. I don't exactly know who Doug Casey is. He's somebody in the finance world. But he breaks down some of the political stuff that's going on, talking about how the left is getting destroyed worldwide right now, like with Germany, with Romania. What else we got? Macron is on his way out. We've got Trudeau in Canada is on his way out. We've got, with what's going on, Hungary and Slovakia aren't going to participate in the insane Ukraine war. A lot of people are stepping away from all this crazy stuff. And it also seems that 2024 is the peak of the whole woke thing in universities, media, and corporations because they all got destroyed as well. So sometimes man makes times and other times the time makes the man. He thinks the latter is true with Trump. Maybe Trump augurs mourning in America, as did Reagan. And that's kind of a good point that he's bringing up. Reagan took on a very hard economy. He had some major problems coming into it, and he had to fix a lot of things. And that is partially what's going on with Trump right now. They do talk about the butterfly effect in here and how, a butterfly flapping its wings in Amazon can cause a flood in China. Trump is like a butterfly the size of Rodin. He's righteously pissed off about the Jacobins and what they tried to do to him. So, international man, Doug Casey says, I'm amazed that anybody really cares about what the Federal Reserve says or seems to do. Manipulating short-term interest rates by 1/4 or 0.5% here and there is trivial. Long-term rates are what count. Long-term, not short-term rates represent the cost of capital to build industry and develop property. With Fed creating dollars by the trillions to support the government, rates can only go up. The dollar has lost at least 98% of its value since the Fed was created 111 years ago. The most important geopolitical event has received the least press, and that is the election of Javier Milei in Argentina. He has completely turned his government around in 1 year. 1 year, he turns the entire government around, and his economy is now starting to boom. El Salvador is another example of that. 2 years ago, it had probably the worst crime problem after Haiti. Now it's one of the world's safest countries, and that was solved, at least temporarily, by locking up about 65,000 known gang members. A bunch of them are here, too. We got to either send them back or lock them up, either way. So Doug Casey says, gold is no longer cheap. It's about where it should be. Compared to historical prices of houses, cars, clothes, and food, Bitcoin as a new asset class, a digital age money, is finding its level. As it catches on with the world at large, it's going higher, but this isn't the time to discuss why I think that's true. Resource stocks, gas, oil, uranium, coal, gold, silver, copper, etc. are truly cheap. They are the best speculative vehicles I can think of. Will they go 10-1 as a group? It wouldn't be the first time. As for the bubbly stock and bond markets, there is an incoming tsunami. Get out of the water. And that's one thing I highly recommend, getting out of the water. There's a lot of stuff that suggests a lot of people that are really paying attention to the real nuts and bolts that aren't part of this whole deep state system, that are telling you what they want you to believe, but instead telling you what you need to know. And we've got problems a-brewing. Do we know exactly when or where? No. Does Goldco believe all the crazy crap that Dan says? No, that's not what they're there for. What they're there for is to help you get out of your IRA or your 401k tax-free and penalty-free. And it allows you to protect your wealth. It allows you to get out of this speculation system and get into something that's still underpriced. It's going up, but it's still underpriced, undervalued, and there's a lot of expectation that it's got a ways to go. Get out of their system. Get into precious metals. Protect your wealth. And you can do it tax-free and penalty-free. You can do it extraordinarily efficiently. Goldco is awesome at it. They're 5-star rated. They're going to give you up to 10% free silver for the value of your 401k IRA, whatever it is. If it's $5,000 is the only value you got, I still recommend getting out. And you know what? You're going to get $500 in free silver, up to. If it's $10,000, you're going to get up to $1,000 in free silver. If it's $100,000, it's up to $10,000 in free silver, just for moving out of their decrepit system into something that will protect your wealth. Tax-free and penalty-free. It's powerful. You also, if you qualify, you're going to get this free half-ounce silver Ronald Reagan coin just for a gift just to say thank you for trusting my good friends at Goldco to help you out. Now, I am a Goldco partner. You're going to be helping the channel too, but I am a proud partner. I'm very happy with the relationship I have with them, and I'm happy with what they've done, not just for you, but for many people already. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of their system before they get out of you. And they will. They want to, that's for sure. drslikesgold.com. All right. Kari Lake confirms she won't run for office again in Arizona. Trump has announced, obviously, that she's going to be the next voice of America. So she gets to go back to her line of work, and she gets to do it in a huge way. And she's like, I don't want to put me or my family through this nonsense again. She went for 2 elections. And as she says, Arizona is dead hellbent on keeping her from ever being able to get back into office. So she's not going to try anymore. Some weird food stuff that we're finding out. They tested 300 Bay Area foods for plastic chemicals. And here's what they found. They found some very disturbing results. Now, again, they say, and they clarify, that this is one study, that there's a number of ways that studies can be done, that they're hoping more people or more companies will do similar studies and find out what their results are. But from their test, they found plastic chemicals in 86% of all foods in the Bay Area, with phthalates in the 73% of tested products, and bisphenols in 22%. It's everywhere. They detected phthalates in most baby foods and prenatal vitamins. Think about that for a second. Baby food, prenatal vitamins, already got phthalates in them. Yeah, this is not accidental. Hot foods, which spend 45 minutes in takeout containers, have 34% higher levels of plastic chemicals than the same dishes tested directly from the restaurant. So all the people doing DoorDash and stuff like that, yeah, you're actually increasing your levels of phthalates and other plastic chemicals in your body just because of the transportation mechanism that's used. 1950s Army rations were tested contained surprisingly high level of plastic chemicals. Almost every single one of the foods we tested are within both U.S. FDA and EU EFSA regulations. And again, they talk about the disclaimer, how they don't want you to draw any high confidence conclusions. These are just some general tests, but again, not good. They also found the organic boneless beef ribeye steak actually contained a really high amount of these plastics as well. And this is from Whole Foods. So this is tripping a lot of people out because Whole Foods is like the healthy place. You pay like 4 times the amount of money for things. You would expect them to be healthier. Doesn't seem to be the case either. Again, love to see more tests done. Maybe we can get that locked in a little better. Maybe, obviously, Maha will be a part of this and helping bring things forward. When it comes to cooking oils, I don't know, a lot of you guys may know this, may not know this, but it's certainly important to know. They talk about a lot of the seed oils. And people are like, yeah, seed oils, they're bad. Most of us don't realize that we use seed oils, that in fact a lot of recipes specifically call for seed oils. And seed oils are not good for you. They're not. Now, seed oils are going to be, if I can find it down here, but seed oils are typically going to be things like your canola, let me see if I can find them here. They're in here. Canola was definitely one of them. Yeah, seed oils like sunflower, soybean, and canola are staples in today's cooking. Here's the thing. If you want to do cooking, I highly recommend peanut, especially if you're going to be doing high temperature frying. You also want to look at olive oil as a very, very good choice, though it's got some flavor to it, so you got to be careful when and how you use that. If you're a guy, coconut oil, believe it or not, is something that majorly helps with testosterone production. So coconut oil is fantastic. It's solid typically at room temperature, but yeah, you can melt it down really good, and it's got a really nice, pleasant flavor. I use it in wok cooking sometimes too, but typically peanut oil is what I like to use. So again, you want to get away from some of these canola, soybean, sunflower. These are not good. And if you go to the oil section of the grocery store and pay attention, you'll notice well, with the exception of olive oil having an entire section in just in and of itself, but the seed oils are extraordinarily popular, so be careful not to get into those. Corn oil is probably decent, but again, I only use that usually for deep frying, just because peanut's too expensive, but I don't deep fry that often. But you want to try to stay away from some of those nastier oils. They are not good for you. Elon's talking about making 1,000 ships a year to try to get to Mars and start to build stuff there. Kind of an interesting discussion here. It's only 21 seconds. Check this out.
Long term, probably be making 1,000 a year of the ship. So
1,000 a year.
yeah, well, got to build a city on Mars.
Yeah, that's insane to think about.
Yeah, I mean, we may not build 1,000 a year right here, but I think this is capable of 100 a year.
Really?
Sure.
Wow.
That's only a ship every 3 days.
And
That's nothing. Long term.
A ship every 3 days. That's impressive, and that's crapping out some ships, that's for sure. This is an interesting situation. It's messed up. Certainly not cool. A man claiming to be a Marine attacks and strangles a TV reporter while demanding to know if he's a U.S. citizen. Apparently, he was a Pacific Islander. And what's interesting is this individual, who they're labeling like he's a conservative because he's, quote, a Marine, and this is in Colorado. They've already let him out on bail. Already. He attempted to kill somebody, and they've let him out on bail. Do you think if he was MAGA in any way, shape, or form, this dude would have gotten out in jail? No. No, he wouldn't have. This dude's obviously not MAGA, but deranged, sure. Is he actually a Marine? Maybe. Might have been in the Marines at some point. He's an older dude. Don't know. But a pretty jacked up story, and certainly not cool to try to take down a Pacific Islander. Come on, man. They're beautiful people, too. Matt Gaetz posted this. There are 435 members of Congress. I think I could get about 20 votes on my best day. Those folks, for the most part, hate me. And what he was talking about, he was responding to Darren Moody, who was basically saying, you should be Speaker of the House. He's like, yeah, there's no chance in hell that will ever happen. Republican senators slam spy chiefs operating in the shadows for politicized COVID origins probe. It says, for years, we've exposed the federal government's role, especially the intelligence community, in concealing the origins of COVID-19, with the Biden administration complicit every step of the way. For this reason, I recently wrote to the intelligence community's Office of Inspector General, giving these authorities records and additional critical support to launch an investigation into potential integrity breaches in the intelligence community COVID origins assessment process. Hopefully we get some truth and answers from this. But yeah, they are definitely trying to cause problems, that's for sure. Now, another interesting story, the federal government, FDA, and the CDC, they both have posts on their web pages that state the ingredients within the COVID vaccines are normal ingredients that exist in everyday food. Well, they've had a number of FOIA requests asking for examples of these foods that contain these same chemicals. They have yet to get any. Zero. In fact, they keep pointing their fingers back at the other. We've got more lies that have been perpetrated to us. Obviously, the Biden administration was a huge proponent of that. It's all deep state, but we're going to blame the Bidens just because it's more fun. European gas prices soar as Putin says a new Ukraine transit deal is unlikely. Yeah. They want to try to work a different way, and Ukraine's like, no, we're not going to let you do this. And so we've got, I forget which country it is over there. It's not Slovakia. Yeah, Slovakia is the ones that's like, look, dude, you're killing us. You're actually going to affect the price of gas, not just in our country, but in Europe. And sure as shoot, that's exactly what's happening. So far, they've refused this. The current gas transit deal began nearly 5 years ago, and it expires at the end of this year. And what we're finding out is that we're seeing the prices of gas rising, especially in places like Germany, who is just having a horrible time right now. Which is interesting here, is Trump's tariff threats to Europe are going to cast a shadow on this. And this is, I don't know, this is something that's going to be weird. It's not going to help Russia, that's for sure. But ultimately, what Trump is saying is, here, look, we've got trade deficits that exist in Europe. You guys need to buy more of our stuff, or else we'll charge you tariffs. What we're selling is fuel, oil, energy at a good price. Interesting. This will be helpful. Trump's going to drill, baby, drill, baby, drill. It's going to take, they say, anywhere from 9 months to a year to maybe a little longer to really start to see the benefits of this. But they will start to happen. We will see energy prices come down drastically, likely across the world. And we're going to see prosperity start to really come back into the United States like we haven't seen before. And this is going to be part of this new golden age. So it is interesting how these things are playing out. We'll see if it continues to work like that. Russian security officials say they foiled a plot to kill a high-ranking officer. We talked about this yesterday. We had a little more information. They haven't given us specifics on who the individual was and who he was talking to, but he was obviously in cahoots with somebody. They were going to hide a bomb within a portable speaker and then use that speaker to kill somebody within this Russian federal security. Russian planned to detonate a bomb hidden in a portable speaker. They were trying to kill a high-ranking officer. They don't even give us who the individual was, but this is what we're being told by, was it Lavrov, I think is telling us all this stuff. So, yeah, whatever the case is, they're still desperately trying to kill people in Russia. And again, I just want to see the war stop. I am tired of people dying. It's stupid. Russia abandoned short-range nuclear missile moratorium amid rising U.S. deployments. Initially, they were going to be like, we don't need to do short-range nukes, not necessary. Well, they've changed that, and they're going to start moving these around and putting them on the border of some of these countries over there in Europe and make it dangerous for them. If, for some reason, the deep state tries to do something, the abilities to stop it or immediately retaliate is going to happen. And the bad guys, they know the good guys know exactly who and where they are. And they know they can't hide. Their bunkers are not deep enough, at least most of them. So we'll see. This is not good. We've got definite escalations occurring. U.S. and Japan, they have unveiled their extended deterrence guidelines because of these rising nuclear threats, not just with Russia, but with China and others. They are beefing up Okinawa and other places within Japan and spending a lot of money on missiles, even bringing in some Tomahawks. Possibly land-launched. They didn't specify too terribly much. They're also updating a lot of the Aegis destroyers to be able to carry Tomahawks as well. And I'm not 100% sure if that's a good or bad thing, because Tomahawks are reasonably slow and not hard to shoot down, but it is one of those things where you could send in mass amounts of drones and then behind them some Tomahawks and their nukes. You only just got to get close. That's the fun thing about nukes. So hard to say how this all plays out, but we are definitely trying to raise the deterrent, and oftentimes it's just numbers. You send enough missiles. Some of them maybe don't need to be nuclear, but you send those in because it's hard for the systems to know which ones are nuclear and which ones aren't. So we've got all the makings for a much more dramatic role in the wars that are going on, and it's not cool at all. Had a number of people that have talked to me. In fact, I was talking to Nana's Little Corner. Nana, she was talking about how she's got a couple animals that she's been using this pet club medicines on. Now, unfortunately, one of them's like 16, and she started doing the liver treat, and she was eating them at first, the Mojos, but now she's gotten to the point where she throws them up every time. So I don't know if she's doing okay or what. They were giving her the special sauce that she's still eating that. So we're trying to get that stuff into this poor, beautiful kitty to kind of try to keep her alive as long as we can. She's 16, so don't know. But she does have a couple other cats, and they're eating the Mojos. They love them. They're doing great. So at least they're keeping themselves healthy. This is a great way to try to keep your animals healthy. She adds a little bit of the special sauce to the food, try to mix it in there or whatever. It's just a good thing to try to do. There's a few different ways. They've got some great high-quality foods. They've got some fun little treats. But these are a lot of these ways to get this very important mushroom, Coriolus versicolor. They have it for people too, by the way. I highly recommend it. It's very good. It helps your immune system tremendously. It also, there's a lot of discussions and studies that suggest. Actually, I've got a person that's using it right now. He's got stage 4 cancer, and he's noticed huge benefits. He's had a reduction in some of the tumor sizes and the slowing of growth in some others. So he's seeing some benefits from using higher doses of this. And again, you can't OD on it. It's one of those things where you can just take so much of it, you're like basically probably get sick from eating all these stupid pills. It's powerful in what it does to help the immune system. These products are incredible. And Pet Club 247 is really, it's funny, as they started out really trying to help our little four-legged creatures and doing a great job at that. But then they added the human stuff as well. They've got some amazing products. Come check it out. Go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Take advantage of these awesome products. Take advantage of the health and life they add, the benefits they add, especially to those little guys that don't last that long. They don't live long enough. It's the thing that's so hard about animals. Ever since I put down my dog eons ago, I have not wanted to get another one. It just hurt too much. Hurt way too much. Beautiful animals. You want them to live as long as possible. This helps. Some really good foods. The mush puppies are kind of a cookie for dogs. Mojos you give to dogs or cats. Most cats like it, I guess, as long as they're not too far along. And they've got some great pet foods, freeze-dried and other stuff, canned foods. They've got really healthy products. Go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Make that change. Help keep everybody healthy, and you will start to see the benefits. That is true. This is pretty awesome. And this is kind of for my Brits out there, but it also, because our legal system is based on what the Brits have done in the bar system and maritime law and common law and all those kinds of things, right? This is pretty good. Now, I will be honest, this guy's Scottish in the back. I love his accent, but sometimes he's a little tricky to understand. But this is good information to know. Check this out.
Watch this.
When this is something that goes to the fundamental power that each of us has, why have we all forgotten it or never been told it?
I think largely that's because we've had it educated out of us. And so we were just talking about that before, and why is that the case? I think there's been some fun and games going on behind the scenes because it's not good for a political power to have a citizenry that is properly aware of its constitutional powers. So,
but it is true, is it not? That it is the people. It's never Parliament that's sovereign.
Correct.
It's always it's not meant to be.
Correct.
Parliament.
Yes. As long as your constitution is based on common law, that would be described as a proper democratic constitution, not because of voting in elections. And we'll come on about that later, because that's actually adult suffrage. But the term democracy actually means something else. So there's another concealed, hidden mechanism within the Constitution that's sort of been rather airbrushed out of our consciousness over a very long period of time.
And that, as I mentioned and touched on at the top of the show, it is the jury, isn't
Yes.
it? That people just think they just go in there, 12 obedient people, judge more or less tells them what to do, and there's a verdict, and that's an end of it.
Yes.
What is the function of the jury, really?
Yeah, so the jury, I mean, we all know the first function of the jury, which is essentially to judge the accused person before the court. But the hidden, concealed second purpose of the jury, that's the key. And what that is actually to judge the justice of the piece of legislation that brought the defendant into court. So to put that another way, you're actually, as a jury, judging two things. So when the defendant comes into court, you're judging the defendant, but you're kind of weighing that and balancing it against the piece of legislation, the statute, that actually brought them into court. And the jury has the right, the independent right, to judge on the justice of that piece of legislation as well.
So the jury is not bound by that legislation?
No.
In any sense?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. So this is called jury independence. Now, I mean, they're a bit coy about this, and that's why we're not being told. It's a very concealed concept. And generally speaking, juries are not told of their power and their right to judge the justice of the law. But they are absolutely, they have the right to judge on that independently of the legislation.
So, in the last couple of years, when legislation was coming down and there was emergency powers and all of the rest of it, and we were invited to think that, well, it's an emergency and you'll just have to do what you're told.
Yes.
That wasn't the case in terms of the independence of the jury.
Okay, so it's a little bit more complicated than that, simply because as soon as they shouldn't be passing legislation through Parliament, through the legislature, and there are a number of checks and balances that are meant to be in place to make sure that legislation, acts of Parliament that are proposed through bills of Parliament are meant to be checked, first in the upper house, and then, of course, through the royal prerogative. And a lot of people get a bit fussy about the royal prerogative, but they don't actually realise that that's a protection mechanism for legislation that would be contrary to the to the Constitution and contrary to the liberties of the people.
We are invited, aren't we, to think that the crown, the monarch, is just a figurehead. But that's not,
no,
and cannot be true.
No, they're the highest ranking public servant in the land. They're the first among equals.
And whose side are they meant to be on?
Well, they're meant to be on the people's. They're meant to be protecting the people, the people's liberties. Yeah, absolutely. That's the point of the Constitution.
And so
they are the sovereign, but they cede sovereignty to the people through that power of jury independence, trial by jury. That's how it's meant to work.
And so,
not how it's working now.
And so in terms of, when what happened while we were within the European Union,
yeah,
how lawful was that the national final decision-making power, the sovereignty, was ceded to Brussels?
Completely unlawful, yeah. Yeah, absolutely contrary to the Constitution.
I mean, is this a functioning democracy or not?
Okay, so it depends on what you mean by the term democracy, because there's been a bit of a twist in that word. And of course, we're taught, or conditioned, if you like, into thinking that the term democracy actually is all about voting in elections. It's about the majority vote, and it's not actually. That is adult suffrage. The real meaning of democracy is specifically the emplacement of a mechanism into your constitution that allows the people through the jury to be the final arbiter of law. And that tradition goes all the way back through early England, the English constitutional common law, prior to 1215 Magna Carta, the late Saxon kings, into Europe as well. Most of the European nations were functioning on common law as well. And then even back into the Athenian constitution in Greece.
My kind of favorite part of that, and it's not the good part, but is the fact that they refer to the royals as the first among the equals. Think about that for a second. You're equal, except I'm first. Are we still equal then? John, we're totally equal. But can I go first? Nope, that's me. I'm first. That sounds like you're more than equal. It sounds like you're a little bit better than equal. You're a step above equal. You get to go first, and then I get to go? Pretty much, unless there's some other equals that need to come up first, and then you'd be like the third, fourth, fifth of equals. But I mean, you're right there. I mean, you're in the top 10, 20, 50, I don't know. Kind of funny. Again, I don't want to pretend that the monarchy makes any sense to me. We got a lot of places in this world that have kings and queens, or still subvert to the royals in England, Canada being one of them. That'll probably change soon once they become the 51st state. It's been a fun joke. Might be true, though. It's supposed to be. In the multipolar world, Canada is supposed to be kind of part of the United States, which makes a lot of sense. It'd be kind of trippy to see that map change. If an election were held today, the government left-wing Labour Party would lose its majority in nearly 200 seats in Parliament, in a large part due to Nigel Farage's Reform UK, an analyst has found. Despite sweeping to a landslide victory less than 6 months ago, analysis conducted by Moore and Common think tank has found that support for Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party has dwindled to such an extent that it would lose at least 183 seats in the House of Commons and therefore lose its majority in the Parliament. The so-called mega poll, Make England Great Again, I'm hoping, conducted on behalf of London's Sunday Times, further predicted that 7 current cabinet ministers would be ousted from their seats, 6 of whom would fall to the candidates from Nigel Farage's Reform Party. According to the analysis, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, Defense Secretary John Healey, Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson, and Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds would all lose to Reform challengers. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Wes Streeting is also predicted to lose in an independent, having just narrowly won out in July over pro-Gaza candidate. Yeah, big changes are happening all over Europe. And England, I think, is kind of leading the way. I think they were smart when they did Brexit, and I know a lot of them wanted back in it, but No, you guys did good getting out, at least for my understanding. You got out for the most part. You've been chastised for it since, of course. And you would be probably in the situation Germany's in if you would have stayed, by the way. Germany is in bad shape right now. And hopefully we can, frankly, I'd like to see Germany get back to greatness too. I know that scares a lot of people because of historics, but I don't believe the world's going in that direction any longer. I do believe we're all going to try to start working together towards a common goal. Maybe that's going to be going to Mars or something similar. It would make a lot of sense. We'll see. I think we've got some friends that are going to help us along the way. Well, again, we'll see. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he's undergoing prostate removal surgery. Again, my prayers to you, sir. I wish you the best in having your prostate removed. That's, what's a bummer to any countries that are effing with Israel, please understand, Netanyahu can no longer get a boner. The dude's pissed. No pun intended. Yeah, that still works when you're flaccid, but still. The dude is pissed. He's having his boinker problems taken out. Like, that's not going to get better. Don't fuck with him. It's not going to be good for you. Let's stop wars there too, all right? I know they're doing a lot. They're actually marching into Lebanon right now. So, yeah, things are definitely getting a little more crazy there. Explosion at Tyson food plant causes 1 death, multiple injuries. This is a very interesting thing. One, it's another food factory. Sure, give you that. What's strange about this is if this was supposed to be a terror event or the deep state being dicks, in my opinion, you guys, I'm curious what you think. And by the way, please hit the thumbs up. Please make sure you subscribe. Also, if you're watching my channel on Rumble, please click on the channel that is there. When you click on the channel page, I'm going to kind of give you a quick little thing here. I don't mean to take a side depart, but it's actually important. So we'll go to Rumble really quick, all right? And I'm just going to click on this guy, Exopolitics. I like him a lot. I've talked about this guy frequently. Dr. Michael Salla, right? When you click on the channel, up here you'll see rumble.com/C/channel name. What you should see if you're on my actual channel is you will see on the Fringe. That is my channel. If it says anything different up there, it is not my channel. It is stealing my material. Please check. If you're watching on Rumble for sure, please check. And search for On the Fringe on BitChute as well. Obviously, there's some other places that steal, but I'm not nearly as many people yet to worry about. So BitChute and Rumble, make sure you're on the right channel, please. And please subscribe to that channel. You're helping me tremendously with that. And you also are not helping people that are stealing my information. All said. What's weird about this is this explosion happened in the middle of the night. 1 dead, 2 injured, which sucks. But this is someone that was sleeping out in a truck and someone that was actually inside the facility. And I don't know if this was something where maybe something weird was going to happen and this explosion might keep it from happening. Maybe this was a total random accident. I know a lot of people are like, nah, Dan, that's totally the deep state. Maybe, but wouldn't you have done this explosion while it was full of people if you really wanted to be a dick? I don't know. The timing of it seems strange, but yes, another Tyson food plant causes 1 death and multiple injuries. I kind of am a fan of Tyson, even though they're kind of heavily processed, but man, there were some things I used to eat back in the day that were made by Tyson that were so good. So good. They had the weird marinated stuff that they'd put in these little plastic bags that probably had all sorts of nasty stuff in them, and then you'd cook them, and they just had so much flavor. Needless to say, not healthy. No, not even close. Charles F. Dolan, who founded some of the most prominent U.S. media companies, including Home Box Office, HBO, and Cablevision Systems Corp., died at age 98. So young. I can't believe he died so young. Yeah, the dude's old as hell. Guy, Jesus is just barely older than that, I think, right? So, yeah, all said, man lasted a long time. I don't know if this picture is even sort of recent. He looks great. If that's 98 and you look like that, brother, dang. Now you probably look a little less color in your face. All said, yeah, it's kind of sad. This is funny. I don't know if you've seen this. I want to say it's a little long, but it's funny. Like, all of them are funny. He uses that same music over and over, and then I think he cuts some of them a little too quickly. But this is such a funny compilation of this dude. And the other side of it is I think this dude's face is like perfect for these videos. And again, for anybody that's ever worked customer service or in retail, oh, you're going to so appreciate this. You're going to so appreciate this. This dude's hilarious. I love him. I'm going to close out with this. That way, if you don't feel like watching, you don't have to. But I think you're going to enjoy the 4.5 minutes that he provides. Want to remind you guys, we are doing this. We are making the difference. Be strong. Don't get wrapped up in all this emotional crap. Don't. They're trying to drag you into their world. Don't let them. Stand back. Be cool with the fact they don't agree with you. But don't necessarily fall into their trap. It's not a good idea. We are making a difference in the world. We are changing things, and we are doing it quickly. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.
You just lost yourself a customer. You think I own this business? You think I own IKEA? I'm a part-time employee halfway through a 2-week notice. I don't give a shit. I'm telling all my friends not to shop here. Tell them. You think I want 5 other yous running around the store? Have them call me, I'll tell them. You think you hate this place more than me? I work here. I know the sale ended last week, but can I still get a discount? Do you hear yourself? We can't go backwards. Time marches on. You want the sale from 15 years ago too? When's it end, Diane? You want that price? You're gonna have to go through the quantum realm with Ant-Man. Do you know how much money I spend here? More than you should. The meatballs ain't that good. Save your money. End my time. Doesn't matter how much you spend here. We don't thank our donors. This isn't PBS. Every time I come here, my order gets messed up. Then stop coming. Make my day. Every time you come here, your order's messed up. Sounds like you're making the mistake. Look inward. You're ordering the wrong shit. I'd like to speak to your manager. I'd like to speak to your mother. Tell her she should be embarrassed. She raised someone to act like a baby in public. You want to speak to the manager, please? The manager doesn't know what's going on. Haven't you ever worked anywhere before? I know that's not right. I used to work here. Well, things change. Sorry they didn't run it by you first. You used to work here. Well, I used to be happy. Then you walked in. Can you just check in the back? Can you just accept we don't have it? The back ain't some magical place. What do you think is back there? Santa's workshop? The only thing back there is a clipboard with our schedules and some brownies Darcy brought in. The website said it was in stock, and what do your eyes say? Sometimes it's wrong. The website also has pictures of employees smiling. You see that? You should go yell at your computer instead of me. It'll get you the same result. Nothing. This is cheaper at other stores. Then shop there. Why are you here? Do you need directions? I'll get you some. I'll call you an Uber. Cheaper at other stores. I don't set the prices. I'm a seasonal employee. You working hard or hardly working? I'm hardly laughing. I'm already at work. I don't have time for a second job pretending you're funny. Why don't you tell me something I don't hear every day? Like thank you. You should open up more registers, and who's gonna work them? You think I'm the only one ringing you up because I called dibs? You want me to clone myself, or are you saying you want to apply? Well, you see we're short-handed. Where's your resume? I can't believe they have you working Thanksgiving. I can't believe you're shopping. Why do you think I'm here? It's because of you. I have to stand here for 15 hours so you can yell at me instead of your family. I work retail. I don't even remember what Thanksgiving is. The customer is always right. About what? How to piss me off? You think you're God because you went shopping? You're not infallible, Susan. You're at the mall. Always right. That's why you're on your 9th try hitting the button for credit. Do you have any coupons for me? That's what I ask you. We all have our roles to play. What, you think you just found a cheat code for the store? Oh yeah, I keep a few 100% offs back here for the smart customers. Bring your own. Didn't scan? Must be free, and you must be out of your mind. To think you're the first person to say that. You're not even the first one today. Don't worry about the scan. I'll type in the product code and charge you double. I swear, I fake laugh at this job so much, I forget how my real one sounds. You're open for 10 more minutes? I'll be quick. Quickly move into the exit? This ain't a basketball game. We're not playing to the buzzer. You had the choice to hold a bunch of minimum wage workers hostage or go shopping tomorrow. You chose wrong. Get out.
What's wrong with me?
Do you work here? Obviously, yes. How many people you know wear a name tag recreationally? What, you think I'm behind the counter because I got lost? Do I work here? No, I'm just dressed like this because I'm going to the midnight premiere of IKEA the movie.